Hello, hey, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of DRABS, Dad Reads a Bedtime Story. In case you guys didn't join us for the last episode, we are reading Forever Friends, Jasmine's Big Idea. I think we stopped right at the end of chapter 3, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Chapter 4, Meeting Madison. That Saturday, Jasmine and her mom drove to the animal shelter as usual, but this time Jasmine's two best friends were in the back seat with her, talking excitedly about all the ideas they'd come up with for the carnival. As they pulled into the parking lot, Jasmine saw a hint of worry in Keiko's dark eyes. I could just wait in the car and one of you could take a picture of a dog for me, Keiko said. Jasmine shook her head. No way. You're an artist. You need inspiration. And what could be more inspiring than meeting the animals we're trying to help? Keiko groaned. I guess you're right. But she didn't sound convinced at all. Don't worry, Jasmine said. The Wallaces make sure all the volunteers are safe. Mom and I come here every Saturday, and look. She held her hands up for inspection. Not a scratch on me. Looked closer. There are a few scratches. Oh, those don't count, Jasmine said, peering at her hands. They're from the new kittens. They're the cutest. Come on, I'll show you. You guys can help me finish choosing names for them. Jasmine climbed out of the car and followed her mom into the animal shelter with Keiko and Sophia trailing close behind them. She couldn't wait to show her friends around and teach them everything she learned as a volunteer. While her mother went to the room down the hall to the right, where she treated sick animals, Jasmine gave her friends a tour. She stopped when she reached the doorway that separated the front part of the shelter from the back area where the kennels were. The door between them was usually kept closed so the barking dogs wouldn't frighten the cats, but the girls could peek into the room through the glass panels in the door. Keiko took one look at the German shepherd who was in the kennel closest to them and backed away nervously. I'm not going in there, Keiko declared. Jasmine could tell Keiko wasn't kidding. Okay, we don't have to, she said quickly. Let's go over here instead. Jasmine led her friends to a different door. This is where they keep the younger cats, she said. She twisted the knob and pushed the door open. And these are my new friends. Jasmine trailed off when she saw Mrs. Wallace and a girl she didn't recognize crouched on the floor playing with kittens. Jasmine, Miss Wallace said, smiling up at her. I didn't hear you come in. She got to her feet. I'd like you to meet our newest volunteer. She lives over in Greenville. She motioned to the girl who stood up and faced Jasmine and her friends with a big smile. She had red wavy hair pulled back into a messy ponytail and grayish blue eyes, and wore a bright green dress covered with tiny yellow ducks. Hi, she said brightly. I'm Madison Rosen. Hi, Madison, Jasmine said. I'm Jasmine, and these are my friends Kaiko and Sophia. Awesome dress, Keiko said. I love the colors. Are you an animal expert like Jasmine? I'm no expert, but I know a little, Madison said with a shrug. Madison's being modest, Miss Wallace said. She volunteered at the shelter in the town where she lives, and she's been great with the kittens. Jasmine peered into the box where the 5 kittens were busy battling some neon orange plastic balls back and forth. Each time a kitten tapped a ball, it jingled softly. It looks like they're playing soccer, Sophia cried. You're right, Madison said. Their long tails helped them balance. Sophia laughed. Too bad I can't grow one of those. I'd be the MVP for sure. You named this little guy Tiger, right, Jasmine? Mrs. Wallace said. Madison came up with names for the rest of the litter. I call this one Leo because his fur sticks out like a lion's mane, Madison said, pointing to the golden kitten tumbling in the box, trying to wrestle the plastic ball away from Tiger. And I call that one Pepper because of its black speckles. As Mrs. Wallace, Keiko, and Sophie crowded around Madison while she listed the kittens' new names. Jasmine couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. She had been hoping her friends would help her finish naming today. But Madison seemed nice, and she clearly loved animals as much as Jasmine did. Plus, Jasmine had to admit the names were good ones. So Jasmine swallowed her disappointment. She squeezed in next to Madison and stroked Tiger, who began purring loudly. He really likes you, Madison said. She grinned at Jasmine, and Jasmine smiled back. All right, let's go for one more chapter. That was the end of chapter 4. Here's chapter 5, Frisky Frankie. The next Saturday, Mrs. Wallace was waiting for Jasmine and her mom when they arrived for their volunteer shift. Good morning, Miss Wallace called out brightly. Dr. Arroyo, you have a patient waiting for you in the exam room. I'll head straight there, Jasmine's mother said agreeably as she put on her white lab coat. You know where I'll be if you need me, Nina, she told Jasmine as she headed toward the exam room. Mrs. Wallace smiled at Jasmine. And I have just the job for you, she said. Madison arrived about 10 minutes ago. She's in the yard walking one of the puppies. Maybe you can lend her a hand. Mrs. Wallace had surprised Jasmine. She didn't usually let volunteers their age walk the dogs on their own. She must really trust Madison, Jasmine thought. Okay, Jasmine agreed as she headed outside. When she stepped into the yard, Madison was trotting around after a large puppy who looked to be part beagle, part terrier, and all trouble. The puppy was on a leash, but he seemed to be leading Madison rather than the other way around. Whoa, Frankie, Madison shouted, her red ponytail swinging. Slow down. Need help? Jasmine asked. Yes, Madison said, gasping for breath. This little guy is running me in circles. He does not know how to heel. As if in reply, Frankie cocked his head at Jasmine and let out a short, playful bark. Jasmine planted her hands on her hips. Okay, I think I know what we need here. I'll be right back. Jasmine dashed inside and grabbed a small bag from the supply closet. When she got back to the yard, Frankie was still pulling hard on the leash and jumping around Madison excitedly. Sit, Frankie, Madison ordered as she lurched a few feet to the left. Frankie was much stronger than he looked. Tell me you brought some magic fairy dust that will make him sit still, she pleaded. Better, said Jasmine. She held up a bag from the supply closet. Bacon-flavored dog treats. She pulled one out and held it in front of Frankie's nose. He immediately stopped bouncing around and stared at the treat as if he were mesmerized. Do you want a yummy treat? Jasmine asked. Frankie sniffed at it, then licked his snout. Madison laughed. I think that means yes. If you want it, you're going to have to sit, Jasmine told the pup. She whispered to Madison, when I say sit and hold my hand out flat, you push his rump down gently. Madison nodded. Got it. Okay, Frankie, Jasmine said, holding her hand flat above his head. Sit. Madison pushed down on Frankie's behind until he sat. Good boy. Jasmine gushed and fed him the treat, which he snapped up in seconds. They repeated the routine over and over until Madison no longer had to touch Frankie's back to get him to sit. All Jasmine had to do was hold her hand flat and say sit. Neat trick, Madison said, impressed. Jasmine flushed with pride. Thanks. My mom showed me how to do it when I got my own puppy. So now what? Madison asked. Let's try heel, Jasmine suggested. Take the leash and a few treats in your right hand. Now put one treat in your left hand, which should be at your waist. Swing your left hand behind you with a treat in it to get Frankie to circle around so he's right behind your left heel. Once he gets that down, you can try to do it while walking him around the yard. Madison smiled. Let's do this. She and Frankie circled the yard practicing. As the dog treats disappeared, Frankie became much more obedient. By the end, he was heeling nicely on the first or second try. Wow, Madison exclaimed. This really works. Jasmine nodded and smiled encouragingly. When Frankie's exercise session was over, Madison and Jasmine headed back inside. As Madison led Frankie to his kennel, Jasmine's mom came in. Hi, girls, she greeted them. I'm just taking Sadie for a checkup. Do you two want to help? Sure, Jasmine said. She loved watching her mom in action. Jasmine and Madison followed Dr. Arroyo into an exam room. There she used her stethoscope to listen to the dog's heart. Sadie was a very gentle, older St. Bernard who had arrived at the shelter just before the Arroyos adopted Cookie. Jasmine loved Sadie's sweet, droopy face, which looked sort of sad in a funny way. She had wanted to take Sadie home, but her parents had pointed out that Sadie was too big for their small house and yard. Dr. Arroyo peered into Sadie's mouth to make sure her teeth and gums were healthy. Finally, she examined her ears to check for lice and make sure they weren't infected. Jasmine couldn't wait to do the same job someday. Is Sadie okay? Jasmine asked as her mother gently moved Sadie's hind legs up and down and massaged her muscles. Dr. Arroyo nodded. Yes, but she does have a touch of arthritis. Poor Sadie, Jasmine said. You can fix it though, right? Well, there's no cure for arthritis, her mother replied, but her case isn't too advanced. Some physical therapy and diet supplements should help, and she needs a forever home where she can get a little more exercise. I'll tell Rosa to try to give her an extra walk each day. Would you girls put her back in the kennel? Sure, Jasmine replied, taking Sadie's leash. Your friend Kaiko is in the after-school art class I just started taking, Madison said. She's really talented. She texted me a photo of a drawing she made of a dog, and it was so good. Jasmine felt her shoulders tighten. Kaiko and Madison were texting? Jasmine hadn't even known Kaiko was in an art class after school. She wondered why Kaiko hadn't mentioned it. At that moment, Mrs. Wallace came by to check on Jasmine and Madison. How did it go with Frankie? She asked the girls. Great, Madison said brightly. Jasmine helped me teach him to sit and heel. She's a real puppy whisperer. I just knew you two would hit it off, Miss Wallace said happily. In fact, I was thinking Madison could help you and your friends with the carnival planning. We need all the help we can get. I'd love to, Madison gushed eagerly. Sure, Jasmine agreed, feeling a little deflated. I thought I was supposed to be Mrs. Wallace's assistant in planning the carnival, she thought. Still, it would be nice to have more help, and Madison did seem to have a lot of energy. Or was it that Mrs. Wallace thought Madison would have better ideas? Mrs. Wallace smiled at both girls happily. Suddenly, Jasmine felt foolish for doubting Mrs. Wallace's confidence in her. This will be so fun, Madison exclaimed as she gave Jasmine a huge grin. Yes, Jasmine said, returning the smile, and it will be great for the animals, too. If working with Madison would raise more money to expand the shelter, then it was worth it, Jasmine reminded herself. The animals were depending on her. All right, family. We'll go ahead and stop it there. Thank you guys for joining us for another nighttime story with Dad Reads a Bedtime Story. You guys have a great one. See you tomorrow.